Lewis Hart for The Ring magazine joined today with Netflix star Eddie Hearn.
Oh, stop it.
Obviously that got released today. We'll touch on that. But we're here at Tottenham Hotspur. Return, I guess, at the scene of April 27th, where they run it back again November 15th, Chris Eubank Jr, Conor Benn. First things first, more importantly, how's things? How are you?
Yeah, good. Back from Belfast. It was an incredible show. Obviously, great weekend for boxing. And then the terrible news of Ricky Hatton's passing. So, great show in Belfast, great show in Las Vegas. And here obviously for the big press conference, Eubank Benn 2, November 15th, ring card at Tottenham Hotspur. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned there about the tragic passing of Ricky Hatton there, and I think it's right to start on that. I'm sure you echo a lot of the floods of tributes that have come in on social media to Ricky, to echo of what a great man he was.
Yeah, do you know what, Liz? He made everybody feel like he was your mate. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Because he had time for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I was around him a fair bit over the years, but then obviously we promoted Campbell and we worked quite closely with him, and he was just so full of life, so much energy. He had time for everybody, and probably when he needed to help himself, he always chose to help others first. And the amount of videos that come out this week about him talking about people, and motivationally just keeping them in the game, and we know the struggles that people have, and sometimes you can wear that mask, but inside no one really knows what's going on because you're too brave to really come to terms with that. So we'll be unbelievably missed by everybody. And I've never known anyone to say a bad word about Ricky Hatton. I think that's really a telling point, because the industry, it's like there's a lot of people, there's a lot of ego, generally people are good people, but sometimes a bit of slagging off and can be a bit toxic at times. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about him. And it doesn't matter if you're a CEO of DAZN, or you're, a guy who's putting the press conference tables together. He was the same with everybody. And he was like the last of a breed of fighters whose popularity was not built on social media. And in a world now of bullshit and content creators and film me doing this and film me doing that, this was a guy whose popularity was built purely through the cleanliness of his heart and the time that he gave people and how he was on the ground in his city as one of the lads, And, he's 46 years old. It's just, thinking about Campbell and Matthew, his brother, and the whole Hatton family. And, I hope that they can find the strength at this time. And it's a really tragic time. Not just a great of British boxing, but just a really good, lad, And really sad.
I know Dec Taylor there alluded to it in your interview there, but I know there's various different charities, but do you think that there is more that can be done to treat boxers post-retirement?
Yeah, I think that, any career when it's over leaves a void in your life. Boxing's very different. Boxing is one that gives you the highest of the highs and, an adrenaline rush like you can never imagine. And when that goes from your life, you're going to miss it. So you always need something to replace that. You don't want that to be a bad thing that you're replacing it with. And sometimes, Ricky's had those problems, and, other people, fighters, go down that path as well. And, but Ricky had so much in his life. Don't forget, he was a promoter, he was a manager, he was a pundit, he had his after dinner speaking, he was a very good trainer. So it wasn't like he didn't have anything to do, but still that void, was there. So I don't know what the answer is, if I'm honest, and the problem is like I said, even, you saw the statement from the family, everyone felt like Ricky was in a good place. And that's something that you never really know about people. You never really know. There's this stigma of, and he would say, you got to talk more, but we don't, do we? Let's be honest. Like as a man particularly, it's the last thing you really do is to show, I guess, what might feel like a weakness, and so many people don't show that. They keep it, enclosed inside.
Boxing being the
yeah, of course, especially in boxing. It's even harder in boxing, especially if you're an active boxer, because it'll be just perceived as a sign of weakness. And we can encourage people to talk more, which is so important, but sometimes there's just people just aren't going to. And you can wear a mask of joy, but underneath it is a totally different picture.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand there. But yeah, touching on Chris Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn, what are you expecting at this press conference? Are you expecting to get a few words in?
No, not really. I mean, I don't really know what to do. I mean, I'm not a guy that kind of sits there and goes, right, I'm going to plan about what, I'm just going to turn up and whatever happens, happens. I mean, but he's very good at planning, and he'll have his little plan. So maybe I should start planning. I don't know. It's not really my thing, but I haven't really got a lot to say other than watch the first fight and know that this time we will be better. Conor last time was extremely inactive. He'd had all the things going on in his life as well. It was his first fight at 160, and it was a hell of a fight. Through 10 rounds, I had it all square. And then Eubank won 11 and 12, and that was what, for me, made the difference of the fight. I think you're going to get another thriller, but I think you're going to get a better Conor Benn. I don't think Conor Benn really last time showed what he can do. What he showed was unbelievable balls, great chin, great heart, great engine, and the ability to hurt Eubank up at 160. But he didn't really show the quality and ability of his boxing. So I think he's got to try and do that this time. And that fight took a huge amount out of both, physically. And Eubank's the older man.
And especially although Conor didn't get his hand raised, do you think he takes a lot of confidence from the 12 rounds?
For sure, because maybe he didn't know if he could mix it up at 160 in that kind of fight. So he knows if he has to go to war, no problem. We're well equipped, but we should be beating Eubank with skill as well.
I wanted to go from one stadium fight to another. Just wanted to get your reaction on the weekend of Canelo Alvarez beating, not Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford beating Canelo Alvarez. What was your thoughts on everything?
Do you know, I kicked myself because for the whole build-up, it was really hard for me to pick Crawford because I love Canelo and I never want to bet against him. But for the whole build-up, I said, and I was so confident that Crawford would win. And just on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, I was like, no. Canelo turns up in his vest. I'm thinking, no, he's the man. And the fight played out exactly how I thought it would play out. The skill, the IQ, the movement of Terence Crawford would just be too much for Canelo Alvarez. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I woke up to get my flight home, and I watched it from the 6th round. And by the time I turned it on, they were saying, he's 5-0 up, 5-1 up. And it was competitive, but he was just second best in every exchange. And, for Crawford, I'm pleased that he got the standout victory that maybe his resume doesn't give, but his quality does, if that makes sense. He could have beaten every major name in his weight class and weight classes above, but he's never really got the chance to fight them. So on paper, a 5-division world champion and a 3-division undisputed champion is incredible. But if you look at the names, it's probably not as powerful as it could be given his talent. But now I'm pleased he's got a really big flagship victory, Yeah.
When you hear Canelo in the post-fight presser talking about his body,
I was quite surprised. Very honest of him. I mean, look, I think what we shouldn't be saying is Canelo's old, Canelo's shot, because you've got to give the credit to Crawford. But Canelo's nowhere near the fighter he once was. And I'm talking about particularly maybe around Golovkin 1 and that kind of time. I mean, I feel like, when I watch the Skull fight, and I just, a certain style is not good for Canelo. When I talked about the Crawford fight with Canelo 2 years ago, he had no interest in that fight because he knew. Like, talk about Crawford's IQ, Canelo's IQ, Reynoso's IQ. They know boxing. They knew that fight was a nightmare for them, really. But financially, obviously, it was a huge opportunity. But when you start saying, my body just can't do it anymore, it can't, that's a telltale sign that he knows that physically he's just not the same. And you're going to get beat by, I was going to say young, sharp guys. Terence is 38, isn't he? I mean, it's unbelievable. 38.
It's crazy.
I heard Shakur saying last night that he says he thinks he should and will retire from the sport. But I don't know who else is out there for Crawford. I mean, he's only going to want to fight for 20, 30, 40 million. But who is there to fight for that kind of money? I'm not sure, you know.
The rematch, you think the rematch would be of interest?
I don't think Canelo will want a rematch.
Yeah.
I think there's a rematch clause. I don't know,
There's not. Yeah.
So, you know, it's very unusual for Canelo to go into a fight without a rematch clause.
Yeah.
But for me, I just can't see Canelo going, yes, I want to run that back. You know?
Yeah. Want to touch on the Netflix show as well, obviously released today. Yeah, good to get it up and running. I haven't seen it yet, so but it's only I was getting up here.
Yeah,
but,
it's good fun. I mean, look, it's pretty big for us, to be honest with you. Like, you know, we're very proud of the company that we've built. We're very proud of the people who exist within the company, but we're also proud to be able to build boxing through the show. I mean, you know, obviously there's a number of really big DAZN fights on there. You know, Riyadh season, the 5v5, AJ against Dubois, Eubank Benn. You know, there's the Taylor Serrano fight. And then, of course, there's the darts, there's the snooker. I think the best way to describe the show is Drive to Survive meets Succession. You know, and unfortunately, or fortunately for the viewers, we didn't cut anything out. And it was like nearly 2 years of being followed around constantly with cameras and mic'd up. And there's a lot of like stuff that I've watched and just thought, you know, and said to Box, can we take that out?
Really,
and they're like, no, honestly, leave it in its gold. And it's like, so you have to be prepared for people to go, fucking that Eddie Hearn's a complete knob. But that's just us, and it's real, you know, and we're very proud of what we've built. We're very proud of all the sports we're involved with, and I think it's a great watch. Yeah,
because that's the thing, I guess, just in life in general, like, especially for yourself, like, you're always getting followed with cameras in a sense. Like, is that ever a weird thing, I guess?
Yeah, that was a consideration,
stuff.
because it's one thing interviewing you guys where you can actually go, you know, let's have half an hour and we sit down and then we all go our separate ways. These guys, they're in the car with you. They're in the room with you, getting changed. After AJ got beat, they're coming home with me. I mean, they're like, can we come home with you? I'm like, not really. I'm absolutely fuming. But you let them do it because that's real TV. And, you know, we enabled that access so we could really give fans the insight into the events that we're involved with, but also the business that we've built. Because it is a unique business. I mean, we are a family business that was built under a snooker hall in Romford, you know, in a stairwell, really, my dad. Yeah. And we are now, you know, one of the biggest global sports companies in the world, but we still maintain our kind of passion and values for how that business started. So you're not going to see us in a 30-story skyscraper looking over New York, you know, where you have to walk in, you know, and everyone's got to wear a tie and, you know, have ID to go in. We are what we are. But we've also reached a size now where we are, you know, we're involved in so much major stuff. Frank Smith, you know, this was Frank Smith's idea, I have to say. And I weren't up for it. But it's been an amazing experience and great profile for the company, but also for the sports that we're involved with. It's worldwide on Netflix. It's going to do huge numbers, and it's got great value to us. Yeah,
brilliant. I will watch it after this.
Should I
I will watch it. You've sold it to me. But yeah, before I do let you go, and just touching back on there about almost like the future of the super middleweight division. Look, you've got your man in Diego Pacheco, and I spoke to Hamza Shearer about a potential fight, and he said, look, he'd always be down for it, but he felt like Pacheco won't stay long at 168. But yeah, now you've seen Canelo, I guess, reign for so long. And now you've got Crawford, and, you know, who knows if he's going to stay at the super middle. Do you see like a future of the guys like Pacheco and that who coming through now? Of course,
yeah, even Hamza. I mean, Hamza's not old either. You know, he's a young guy. Pacheco's a young guy. You've got Billy. You know, Belanga will try and find his way back. Munguia. You know, every one of those guys. Callum Simpson, you know, from the UK side as well. Like, there's some great fights to make, but sometimes there's a changing of a guard. It's a bit like when Usyk goes. You know, those belts are going to come up available and everyone's going to be scrapping for them. I love Hamza Shearaz against Diego Pacheco. I think that's one of the best fights in the division. And now, you know, Hamza was probably sitting there thinking, Canelo wins his fight. I mean, it's probably cost him 10 mil, him losing. You know, so now, you know, Frank and Riyadh season, we've got to be working on a new fight for Hamza. And I think a Pacheco fight makes sense, and a Billy fight, you know, a Munguia fight. They're all great fights, round robins for everybody. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Look, Eddie, appreciate the time as always. Cheers, mate.
I'm sure we'll be catching up soon. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.